This video is sponsored by Bityard. With over 400 cryptocurrencies to choose from on their spot exchange, dozens of USDT pairs for futures trading, perpetual coin futures, trade commodities like gold, silver and oil, Forex, and major indices like Nasdaq. You can buy crypto from Bityard with over 50 different fiat currencies using Visa, MasterCard, Google or Apple Pay. If you like, you can use their copy trade facility, follow other traders who will execute trades on your behalf, or become a copy trader yourself. So if you want a bit of that, click the link in the description. Hello everybody, welcome back. We're going to talk about XRP on this video, and just XRP, but it's been a serious day of pumping, or pamping as we like to say on the channel, and yeah, it's all thanks to Bitcoin. Bitcoin reclaimed that zone, that major line in the sand, and to be honest with you, it looks pretty good. The total market cap excluding Bitcoin as well, also looking pretty good, and looks like it wants to continue. But let's not fool ourselves into thinking that this can't come down again. Obviously it can. Then all these small caps that I was talking about yesterday, so I bought a lot of these small caps at the weekend, so BITRUE, UNO, AI, RLY, OMI, you know, some of these have moved significantly, so it's been really good, you know, good timing, I would say. But largely that was down to the fact that, you know, these are what I've been saying on the Patreon live streams, you know, I've been saying it for a couple of weeks now, that these coins are at mouth-watering lows, right? Doesn't mean that they can't break down. If they did, it would be devastating. We're talking about risk to reward. We're talking about a potential, you know, maybe a 10x from some of these, but the drawback would be a potential 50% down. So the risk to reward is still enormous, you know, in form of the reward. The risk is also pretty devastating as well, but on a risk to reward basis, from a spot trader's perspective, yeah, it's pretty good. Now these move pretty hard, and we would talk about this all the time, and we talk about the lives. We do these live streams twice a week for Patreon members. We always talk and reflect on the 24-hour trading volume. It's basically just a very crude overview of the order books, and what I always say is that the lower it goes, it's a double-edged sword. First of all, it means that if the market does go into a massive bear market, or if it does collapse and we go into a crypto winter, these things effectively won't trade at all. You won't be able to sell it. You certainly won't be able to sell it for anything, you know, that reflects its current price if you've got, you know, a large amount of it. But if for whatever reason the market goes healthy and starts to move up and things start to look good, you get huge green candles like this. And on the last live stream we were looking at all of these. BITRUE, it was trading at 10 times less than it is today. Same thing with UNO, 10 times less than it is today. AI, not so much. I think AI, it's probably about 3 times less than it is today. You get the point. But when we look at something like XRP, it trades at enormous volume almost all the time. So today, $406 million in a 24-hour period. That's not unusual. Well, I mean, it's higher than normal, but millions and millions gets traded with XRP, which is why, you know, I suppose you're not going to see those giant big coins, giant big moves until the time is right. Now, these coins that have been moving today, the ones that I'm talking about at the weekend, yeah, it's good to see the moon, but that was based on historical levels of supports. It was also based around how Bitcoin had a buy signal that looked like it was going to break out, and that the breakout would be pretty big and pretty aggressive. So all of that's happened, and again, these were just adding risk to what would be, you know, an educated guess based on the TA that I explained at the time, that Bitcoin would break out and it would carry the market, and that seems to have worked out pretty well, you know. Bitcoin's my largest position, so yeah, I'm happy, 7% up. But I'm also happy because I'm, what, 38% up, I'm 24% up, I'm 10% up, I'm, well, 7% up here, I'm 20% up here. So I'm happy across the board, obviously. Some things make me happier than others, but I put a lot less into these sort of things than I have in this, for obvious reasons. You know, the risk, it's all about the risk. And because my trading style requires me to basically have Bitcoin, because I trade Bitcoin pairs, that's my preference. All altcoins is just an opportunity to earn more Bitcoin, that's all it is. So moving away from the shitcoins for a moment, whether or not you want to determine that XRP is a shitcoin, XRP has had and is currently, you know, looking at a completely different setup to the ones that have been so generous to us today. These, like I say, based upon Bitcoin, Bitcoin's buy signal, Bitcoin's continuation of a trend, the total market cap, you know, having its own breakout as well. You know, that led me to take on some extra risk with these shitcoins. But when it comes to XRP, it's different. XRP has been in this giant consolidation that we've been looking at, which has gone on for basically a year. It's like a year long, and similar to the bear market that took place, and then more. So the bear market had been going on for 6 months prior to this chart beginning, but you know, we'd been consolidating for an inordinate amount of time until we finally broke out and then began the XRP run. Bearing in mind the bull market for crypto, you know, that began around here. That's where that started. XRP had to finish its consolidation, so it's generally decoupled from the overall market, which is one of the reasons I like it. Sometimes you get opportunities to trade XRP when the rest of the market is doing something completely different. The chart can be taken seriously, in my opinion, and that's why I like it. And I like to futures trade it, which is why I have an enormous amount of it, just by default, because I use coin futures to trade it, and I end up with loads of XRP. I'm generally unwilling to sell it unless, you know, I feel like I need a little bit of extra cash. And then I just end up with a huge amount of XRP. It's a ridiculous sum of it, to be honest, like ungodly amount. And obviously I could look back at that and go, well, what a terrible coin to have accumulated, because it's such an underperformer if you're a spot trader or an investor. It's been pretty terrible. But there was one thing that it's got going for it, which is that its chart is usually quite reliable. So as we've seen, we've had these giant consolidations. We come out into a period of accumulation, and then we start to march up. We have these, this was the initial pump here, but you have these, recently we've had this mountain and a molehill type vibe. Mountain and a molehill type vibe. So the next thing you'd be looking for would be when this finally breaks out, and again we are potentially breaking out at the moment, we'll be going in for another mountain and a molehill, so making this, dwarfing that, basically turning this into this kind of, this kind of difference. So this will then look like this. So we might be looking for the new all-time high, basically, for XRP on the next big move up. Operative word being might, So let's not kid ourselves into thinking that this is all been driven by XRP on its own. It's not. But what it's doing is it's creating a healthy chart. The chart has been more or less mimicking Bitcoin anyway, on the 4 hourly, on the daily. There's not a great deal of difference to it. And if you look at the gains that they've made, they're almost identical. Satoshis will be more or less zero. It will have just stayed static for the best part of the day. On the 4 hourly, we've got our golden cross here, which is good. So we've got golden cross, death cross, golden cross, death cross, golden cross, and this one has been slow and marching, similar, exactly the same as the Bitcoin's chart. Okay, Bitcoin on the daily, as we can see now, has just reclaimed the 200 exponential, and so has XRP has reclaimed its 200 exponential. This is exactly the same kind of chart. There's not much to it. So we're looking at today's move and going, well, you're basically being carried by Bitcoin. So whatever Bitcoin does, you do. So first of all, accepting that, then we have to think, well, how can we apply how can we capitalize on this next move for XRP? What are we looking for? What are we waiting for? So it's the same thing that we've been speculating on, leading into this move, which is that what we first of all need to see is a reclaiming of the 200 exponential on the daily. XRP, more than any other coin, has such a good reaction to reclaiming that 200 exponential that it's actually, it's something of its own that really should be taken extremely seriously. What we want to see, first of all, though, is not just a breakout like we've got here, but we want to see a breakout and a retest. So there's a strong area of resistance around here, between about $1.04, $1.06. And that's what I'd like to see XRP do. If it could possibly just move up to there, well, I would expect a rejection on the first pass, because remember, Bitcoin has generated this move across the board for everybody. Obviously, some things are moving like crazy, some things are static, some things are underperforming, right? But it's all generated by Bitcoin. So we have to think about Bitcoin as the major indicator throughout this period, just in the short term. But also what we see is this giant consolidation appears to be penetrated at the moment. So we've only just started this move, right? And we'll have plenty of time, well, within reason, to get an opportunity to do one of those serious longs. Like I say, the longs of a lifetime are usually generated by XRP, and they're short and sweet, and that's why I like them. You don't need much. I have a trading account with 10,000 XRP, and I always have it as 10,000. Whatever I make on top of that goes back out into a cold wallet and trade. So that's basically my float is a 10,000 XRP balance. Doesn't matter what the value of it is at the time. XRPs are XRPs, and so what I'd be looking forward is that in an ideal world would be a breakout of this descending trend line, and maybe a move up to this level, maybe not, but effectively what we'll be looking for is a retest of that 200 exponential. That's where I would decide to put in a small well, I say small, obviously it's going to be 10,000 XRP, but small leverage, you know, 2, 3, maybe 5x, depending on the nature of Bitcoin at the time. Because remember, Bitcoin is going to be an indicator in itself right now. Applying any you know, futures trade on an altcoin definitely has to be looked at through the lens of Bitcoin first, because as I've explained, Bitcoin is leading the market. All these things are outperforming it. That's because of their sparse order books most likely, but generally Bitcoin is leading the market. If it wasn't for Bitcoin doing what it did last night and carrying through today, none of this would have happened, right? So we know that. So we also know that if Bitcoin comes down, it's almost certainly going to bring everything else down with it. So we have to respect that. So what we're looking at is that, yeah, this chart is maturing very nicely. A year-long consolidation, potentially on the brink of breaking out properly, and then going into its own uptrend when the time is right. Which, you know, in this current environment right now, if we can hold above these particular levels, 46,000 ideally, and arguably the making sure that we're above that 20 weekly, which again is something else that XRP has reclaimed of its own as well. So adding more weight to some serious moves up sooner rather than later for XRP. So, you know, when it comes to futures trades, you've got to have a plan. The plan might not work out, you know, but you've got to have a plan in advance. You've got to know what you're going to do, otherwise you're driven by emotions. If you sit around and wait and the plan doesn't come to fruition, no big deal. You know, it's a 24-hour trading market, isn't it? There's always going to be more opportunities around the corner for you. The idea is to never FOMO, never use your emotions to make these trades, and to have a plan. And look, XRP, we've got a plan. Like, we're above this 200 exponential now. On the daily, we're above the 20 weekly on the daily. So it's very much like Bitcoin has got the same kind of vibe going on. The only difference is that this is coming freshly out of a giant consolidation that's taken a year, which would basically give you the ability to at least do a measured move from the bottom of the consolidation to the top, and give yourself an idea of what sort of gains we're looking at. So let's just say we broke out here. We are moving likely up to beyond $2, right? So that's over 100% gain on a spot trade. You add a couple of X leverage, 3, 4, maybe 5, if you've got the balls for that kind of thing. And again, I'm not saying you've got balls to futures trade. I mean, 5x is quite high leverage as far as I'm concerned. 2 and 3 is my bread and butter. You're looking at some serious cash there, and in standard XRP fashion, it would likely be quite quick. But the idea is, obviously, I would like to I'd like to think that I caught this move and I get this move, but this is the criteria for it. Some people might look at this and go, we're breaking out today, look at that tiny little piece out there. Look, this is a year-long consolidation. It's messy. It's never going to work to a tick. It's never going to perfectly, you know, hit or whatever. It's not. This isn't what it's all about. What we look for is the moving averages and the retest of that. That's what we'd be looking for, or that's what I would be looking for. When we're looking at this on a momentum basis, it's looking good, going from strength to strength. Money flow index isn't particularly high, which is what I'd like to see as well. I wouldn't feel comfortable if this was up in the oversold area, which unfortunately is where Bitcoin is, pretty bloody high, which, you know, is a little bit of a concern. XRP's not got that, so there is a chance that if XRP does do a move up here, has a little cooling off period down to that 200 exponential, then if it did decide it wants to go up to $2 and beyond, it would more or less have the ability to do that. This is basically just being dragged through the process of breaking out because of Big Daddy Bitcoin over here. So, you know, I haven't made a video on XRP in a few weeks because there's not really been much to say. It's been the same situation throughout, and when we look at it on the live stream, it's the same thing. People ask me about, what about that trade you're talking about? What about that trade? So, well, the plan of the trade is still the same. Got to wait for the criteria to be met. And this is how I trade, you know, especially when it comes to futures. I'm extremely careful. I have different trade setups and different criteria that has to be met. If it doesn't get met, I don't do the trade. You know what I mean? I'm looking for, you can understand just from what I've explained, that if we get this trade, it would be a really, really epic one. We're talking, you know, several 100%. We're looking to turn my 10,000 into 20 or 30 or more thousand if this works out. That's decent returns. But I would not want to make an irrational decision going into that kind of trade. That's why I plan it weeks in advance. And like I say, if I miss it, I miss it. It's no big deal. So effectively, 200 exponential should hopefully begin to look like this. In a perfect world, we'll be looking for a move up to around about this level of resistance and then come back down. I'm not going to be looking to short to go hard at this level. I wouldn't be really looking to do anything unless we either touch here or we move up here and have a bit of a retest. I might consider doing that, but my first idea, and the one that we've been thinking about for ages, is wait for this 200 exponential to break, wait for this descending trend line to break, wait for a bullish retest of that, have a quick look at Bitcoin, and then maybe I'll go for it there. So I thought I'd just bring it back to your attention. Outside of the setup and the thoughts that we've had going on this channel and on the Patreon for XRP, there's no difference to it. There's actually no amazing signals on it. To be honest with you, there's no Ichimoku cloud on the daily or 4-hourly or the weekly. Not checked the 3-day. We'll just have a look at that. No, you're not going to get anything on the weekly there either. Interestingly enough, though, if you do look at the weekly, it's been bullish all the way back since November 2020. Never had a death cross, effectively just consolidated, which is really good. So this does lend itself to it working out sooner rather than later, I have to say. But for the moment, still early days. We're not looking to miss out on anything. I'm not suggesting anybody buys anything or does anything. That's not for me to say. Just bringing this to your attention. Whether you agree or disagree, it's perfectly fine. There's no rights or wrongs with trades. There's only wins and losses. So that's the way I interpret the chart. Let me know how you feel about it. It does look pretty good. Momentum's still building, but it's important to recognize that if it wasn't for Bitcoin doing its thing, we wouldn't be here right now with the XRP or any of these shitcoins that we've cashed in with today. Some serious cash has been made today, and thank God for that. Right, I'll leave it with you there, guys. I hope you have a nice day, nice evening, and take it easy.